What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Fargo Season 3, Episode 6, The Lord of No Mercy. So we are returning to Fargo, finally. Woo! I've been excited about this, especially after Fear the Walking Dead. I need a good show. But it is kind of funny because coming back to some of these shows where I started halfway through the season and then had to stop, I don't really have time to go back and watch all the episodes again to get caught up. It's not like I have something planned, but I would like to try to get through these as quick as possible. So the best thing I can think to do is watch my reviews, because as bad as it sounds, my reviews back then were bad. Um, so they were more talking about what was going on. Like, I would address my favorite parts of the episode still, but there was definitely a lot more like just basically expositing what's actually going on in the episode, which of course is not much of a review. Like, you're essentially just telling everybody what's going on. Like, come on, old Mason or younger Mason, get yourself together. But I will say it does help whenever I'm going back and I need to watch something quick that reminds me, okay, so what's been happening this season. It was enough to kind of get me caught back up to speed, because I remembered some of it but not all of it. But yeah, so this episode we return, and I mean, honestly, it's building up very nicely. I like all of the different moving pieces in Fargo. I like how they're all sort of interconnected while not necessarily being the same story. So yeah, that's one of my favorite things about the show is how well they can interconnect three different stories, make them all fit together while still have their own moving parts. But yeah, so some of my honestly, like, I like pretty much everything about the show. Like, it's weird to say, but it's hard to do a review of a show like this because it's not like I can point out, well, this specific scene didn't work and this specific scene did work, and this it's not quite like Fear the Walking Dead where I can really review it and criticize and talk about what did and didn't work. Pretty much everything works. It's just if there's something that stands out about an episode that kind of like, that was cool, or holy crap. So for this one, the two main parts I think that stand out are first the scene in Emmett's office where Gloria and I think Winnie is the name of the other cop with her. Like, they show up and they're interviewing him. Brilliant setup. You see Vargas sees them and is like, that's not good. So he steps in to make sure Emmett doesn't say anything too suspicious, but in doing so, he also makes himself look suspicious. And so I love how that scene happens. It was a nice little back and forth between Gloria and trying to get Emmett to talk about what's been going on, Varga shutting him up. Even the little bit where when he starts to say something out of line and Gloria's like, no, 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 because she realizes she's about to give them information that they don't need to know that they know yet. But the reason why that scene is so brilliant is because clearly Varga kicks them out because he doesn't want them getting too much info. But at the end of the episode, that scene where you see Gloria just driving and you're like, you know what? Screw it. Like, she's had enough of being put down. She's had enough of being told you can't do this. So she's just taking the horse by the reins. She's like, this is my case. I'm going to solve it. I'm going to get to the bottom of this. Not for my job, not for, you know, I think it's the police captain that's been putting her down. Not for him. I'm going to do it because Ennis Strussi deserves justice. And I don't know, it's just very well set up, starting from that scene and getting to, that point. The other scene, of course, that stood out, any of the scenes with Varga in them are already kind of like out there. I will say he's not my favorite character only because they definitely are making him kind of disgusting. And I've talked about this when I first watched it. Like the scenes where we see him, making himself puke and all this stuff. They're kind of making him more and more disgusting. And so in this episode, we have him like picking his teeth until they're bleeding. And it's just like anytime I see him, there's just something about him. I'm like, ugh. It's kind of gross. So yeah, not my favorite character, but he is an interesting character. I will give him that. Like, they've written him in a way that makes him disgusting, but also kind of intriguing, and I want to find out more, I guess, but not too much. But no, the scene where we do see Emmett go and see Ray, and then of course, I don't know, I was very intrigued because Emmett shows up and he's kind of like, look, I'm done. You know, he realizes how much he's been put through. He realizes that Ray tried to steal from him using this thief, Maurice. And so he's just like, you know what, fine, here, take the stamp. I'm done fighting. I'm done with all of this. And then what's more intriguing is that Ray, because he sees this as like, you're still looking down on me. You're doing this because you think you're better than me. So no, take the stamp. You're not better than me. You're not just going to give it to me. It's mine. I'm taking it back. You're not going to give it back. You're not going to be the better person here. So no, you take it. And it fits. It really does fit their feud, their rivalry. It's very interesting. But then to even one up that ante, the shoving match turns into Emmett just in a fit of rage tosses it right up and hits him in the face with the glass, and then one right in the side of the neck. And of course, you know, he's not thinking. He's just like, what is, and then pulls it out, and then of course that causes him to bleed out. And I'm just sitting here like, holy crap. Because I've talked about this before, and I remember that about the first two seasons clearly, is that most of the time these shows would start with somebody who, they're not really a killer, they're not really somebody who, you know, they're not somebody who would do something like that. But something happens and it puts them in that situation. In this season, it kind of seemed like maybe it was going to be Nikki was that character. You know, because at first we see her, they do hire the thief, he kills the wrong man, and then she kills the thief because of, you know, reasons. She wants their name to be kept secret. So it kind of seemed like maybe she's not really that type of person, but she did it out of fear, you know, to keep them safe. But it didn't really feel like a typical Fargo accidental killing that kicks off the season. This feels more like it. This feels more like that death, that killing that happens, and it's just like, holy crap, like you didn't see it coming. This felt more like that because it's two brothers. Neither of them, like Ray is, I could see him being a killer. Emmett never seemed like one. Emmett has never shown himself to even be thinking about killing somebody. Like, he's kind of a dick, but he's not a killer. He's not evil. But then he gets caught up in this situation with Varga and his business. Varga's trying to take over and basically make him money because he sees the profitability from it. And Emmett's just sort of caught up in it. On top of that, he's dealing with his brother trying to steal this stamp from him. And so all of this is happening. And now all of a sudden it reaches this climax point where now he's killed his brother. Even if it was an accident, he still killed him. And I'm curious to see where the rest of the season goes now. Because at first I thought it was going to be kind of Nikki and Ray sort of hiding out from the cops, trying to escape the law, trying to escape Emmett and Varga and people coming after them from that side. But now Emmett's kind of caught in a bind where now he's killed his brother. So where does he go from here? You know, he's already dealing with this criminal who's trying to essentially commit fraud to make him more money. And it's something that he didn't really want, but it just sort of happened. You know, and he's already dealt with so much this season. This, I feel like, is going to be kind of a tipping point where I think he's going to end up sort of going a little crazy and he doesn't know what to do next. So I don't know. I'll be really, really curious to see where it goes from here. But yeah, very good start back to where I left off. And I do know one of the things that popped up before the episode started is I saw that this is coming back for a new season in the fall of this year. I hope. So yeah, it's a good thing I started watching it because I may want to try to catch that when it happens. So I'm excited. But yeah, so super excited to see where the rest of the season goes. On to the next episode. See you there. And now episode 7, The Law of Inevitability. Again, very good moving parts, keeping things flowing forward very nicely. The stuff with Nikki in this one, very interesting to see that apparently, I guess they found out that she got arrested, and I don't know exactly how many ties Varga has to the police department, but clearly he has enough to where he can hack into it and also get a guy to sneak in. Now the guy, he looked kind of familiar. I don't know if we've seen him before this season. If we have, I don't remember because it's been far too long. But yeah, so it was just pure luck, that uh, he goes in to kill her, and then of course Gloria walks in and manages to stop him before it happens. But again, I think the frustrating thing about this whole thing with Gloria and looking into the case is mainly just the fact that this guy, the captain or whatever he is, her superior, there's really no reason for him to distrust her or to disagree with her, And that's kind of the problem, is that I feel like they've not really given him a good enough reason to distrust her. Like, maybe I'm forgetting, but if there was something she had done in the past where maybe she had these theories before and then none of them worked out, and she was just constantly coming up with conspiracy theories and nothing ever gets proven of what she's saying, like, that would be one thing. But she seems to be a very smart person. She seems to be a very good cop, too. So I really don't get this whole hatred he has of any of her ideas. And especially when there's so many things, it's the same thing of like if a ton of names connected to a bunch of missing children's cases, like that's suspicious enough to do an investigation. Those of you who know what I'm talking about know what I'm talking about. Like it doesn't prove anything, sure, but it's suspicious. It's something that should be looked into, and that's exactly what she's saying here. I'm not saying that this is for certain. There are definitely doubts, but something's weird happening here. Like, that's essentially her whole point, and yet her superior's just like, no, 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 we don't do, no, 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 shut her down, shut her down. It's kind of pointless to me, other than to hinder her progress and keep her from figuring things out as, quick enough to save people's lives. So yeah, it's just kind of frustrating. And again, maybe it was explained and I just forgot. Maybe he did talk about how she has had some weird theories in the past that were not proven, and then ultimately she ruined a couple cases. If that's the case, then yeah, obviously it makes sense why he wouldn't trust her here. But as far as I know, I don't feel like that's been brought up. But I might have to look into that and just, after I'm done with this season, look back and see, like, okay, was there an instance where he brought that up and talked about how she always had these theories that never came to fruition? As far as the stuff with Emmett, though, like, again, just seeing him kind of spiral is gonna be fun. Because he's at this dinner and he's enjoying himself, and then all of a sudden when he sees Winnie walk in, you hear the high-pitched squeal going on. You can't hear anything, and then as soon as he hears her say something about Ray, oh, I've been here since 6. It's just absolutely perfect, and exactly what I was expecting of him, honestly. I'll be curious to see, like, whenever Winnie does talk to Gloria about all of this, like, I assume she's going to hear that and be like, okay, yeah, he definitely had something to do with this. Why would he need to know? Because Winnie, she's not the smartest, but she's also not as dumb as some of the other cops. So I think she caught on to it too. She's like, who said anything about murder? Because he's talking about, like, why would I want him dead? And she's like, well, I didn't say anything about that. So I think she's going to let Gloria know, and Gloria's going to pick up on that and start investigating him further. But aside from that, like, the scenes with Varga in this one were not super interesting. Sai, I feel like, had the more interesting scenes. Him trying to help Emmett, and Emmett just not trusting him. And almost, it gets to the point where he breaks down to his wife. He's like, the world isn't right, Honestly, very relatable scene. I think a lot of us just want to cry into somebody's arms and be like, the world isn't right. It's my world, but it ain't right. So yeah, just very, very real scene in the midst of all of this insanity. And then the other thing to talk about is, I think his name is Yuri, the Slovenian, whatever, the guy that's from, like, near Russia, that part of Europe and Asia. He breaks into the police department, and I don't know, like, I kind of knew this was coming, but at the same time, when it happened, I'm just like, idiot. That the pudgy cop that works at Eden Valley, He goes into his car, realizes he forgot his gun, goes back inside. The door's unlocked now, even though he locked it, and he just thinks, oh, well, I just forgot. But then all of a sudden sees something, finds Yuri in the back, and Yuri's just standing there. He's just like, why are you talking to yourself? And I don't know, like, just the fact that the guy was such a weenie that even after he grabs his gun, like, I'm just waiting for him to do something, anything. I'm like, what's he gonna do? Is he gonna try to call it in? Is he gonna shoot him? What's Yuri gonna do about it? And then they cut to him walking out of the building and getting in his car, driving away. And there's a part of me that's like, it is kind of funny to think of this guy, like, this pudgy cop who just has no backbone. And even though he's got a gun and the guy across from him has look like a bone saw maybe, like, he clearly has the advantage weapon-wise, but he's just that much of a chicken where he's just like, this guy's too intimidating for me. I'm just going to head out. It's funny, but also it's kind of frustrating because you see he takes the entire investigation file into Stressie's death, which means now Gloria's not going to have anything to fall back on whenever she's trying to prove a lot of this case. So it's funny, but it's also frustrating in a sense of like, this is going to be a hindrance probably either in the next episode or the episode after. Like, one of these two episodes, I feel like Gloria's going to feel like she's got the information she needs. She's got a lot of stuff. She's like, all right, now we can start tying this all together. And then she's going to go back and realize that whole case file's been taken. And now she's got nothing. So, yeah, kind of mixed feelings there. But yeah, I'm curious to see where this is going, with the ending and all, seeing Yuri donned in his wolf uniform, trying to break into the back of the bus. I guess he's probably there to just take Nikki out, which, she seems knocked out, so I don't know how she's going to get out of this situation, but I assume he's there to just kill her. I can't imagine any other reason why he'd, like, want to kidnap her or anything like that. So, but yeah, all in all, though, another good episode. Still enjoying it. Still excited to see where the rest of the season goes. So on to the next episode. See you there. And finally, episode 8, Who Rules the Land of Denial? So, again, something that I absolutely love about this show is just how well they're able to keep me guessing. And even when I think I've figured out some stuff, even when I think I've figured out where they're going with some storylines, they still manage to subvert my expectations in ways that I didn't even think was possible. So yeah, this episode seemed like it was heading towards just being a simple, we've got, what's his name? Oh, I looked it up even. It's the deaf guy from the first season, because I remembered there being a deaf guy from the first season, so I had to look it up to see if it was the same guy, and it was. He's one of the ones that Billy Bob Thornton's character was up against. I want to say it's Mr. Wench. I know it starts with a W, but I can't remember. But anyways, he and Nikki are teamed up in this one because they're chained together, and so he actually helps her get out of the bus, which, don't really know why. I guess he just sort of saw that these guys were after her and decided good Samaritan time. But yeah, so it seemed like it was just going to be where they're on the run, and then I thought maybe Gloria was going to find out about it. I thought maybe like Emmett was going to hear about it somehow. But essentially I thought it was going to be kind of a chase episode where they're chasing after her and Gloria's trying to chase him as well. But then the chase stops. And I wasn't expecting that. So first, I will talk about the chase part of the episode, though, because it was very well done. They're running through the woods. I loved all of the little bits. The funniest and best bit, in my opinion, for this entire episode was the point where the father and son are out hunting, and so the son, like, shoots the wolf head, like, off of Yuri's head. So that was already kind of a funny bit, because just all of a sudden, just whoosh, and gets stuck in the tree. The best part, the father goes up, removes it out of the tree, and it was such a clever little setup because Yuri's not there. The father steps up, covers a large part of the screen, pulls the wolf head out, steps back, and then there's Yuri. And then the next cut, Yuri's walking through the woods with the crossbow. Perfect. I mean, it's just a perfect, it's comedic, it's a perfect setup. Like, I don't know. It was just absolutely brilliantly done, just from the framing and then that cut to Yuri walking through the woods. But anyways, from there though, things get even more interesting. With the two of them, Nikki and Mr. I'm gonna call him Mr. Winch. Probably not right, but the two of them working together. That scene where they ended up getting trapped for a second, but then they managed to fight back. He throws the axe and cuts off Yuri's ear, and then they. I looked up his name. His name is the Golem. I don't really remember him if he was a part of this season earlier, but they fight back against him and manage to whoosh, head clean off with the chain. So that was insane. But then it got a little weird for a second, cause yeah, the guy Ray Wise's character in the bar or in the bowling alley. Yeah, that whole scene. I don't know. Like he's got a little kitten, which the kitten was adorable. But he's got a little kitten named Ray, and then he knows who Yuri is, and he's talking about, when he's talking to Nikki at first, he's like, yeah, I've talked to them, and they've decided he's on the right path, talking about Mr. Winch. I'm just like, what? And then Yuri comes in, sits down next to him, and he says, and he knows who Yuri is, and he's like, I've got a message from, what's her name? Helga something, and the rabbi he was talking about earlier. And earlier in the episode, he saw the Gollum guy had Helga tattooed on his wrist, and he's like, I knew a Helga once. And so then he looks straight at the camera, and then we see this woman who I'm guessing was Helga, and then all of these people behind her. I assume it has something to do with the story that he was telling to Nikki earlier, about all these women and children that were slaughtered or something like I was so lost in that scene, and like I don't know, it fits the weird tone of Fargo, so I'm not surprised that I was lost, but at the same time I'm also like, what was the point of all that? Like, this is something I'm gonna have to look up later. I'm going to have to, because I have no idea what just happened, and I'm kind of curious to find out what that whole scene meant. But anyways, so from there though, things get more interesting, because next we see Sai goes to check up on Emmett, and then we see Varga gives him some tea, and I'm thinking to myself, he was very adamant that he drink the tea. Did he poison him? Sure enough, he shows up at the office, pukes, and then he's in the hospital bed. Even more interesting, all of a sudden we cut to, like, we close up on his eyes, zoom out, he's got a full-grown beard, full head of hair, and it's like almost a year later, I think, because I think this was supposed to be set in December of 2010. And then the lady was writing the date, and I think it was like November of 2011. So nearly a full year later. What? Wow. So Nikki and Mr. Winch have been on the run for that long. Emmett has been somehow keeping himself together enough. I mean, Varga's pretty much been running his business, as they kind of tell us. But it seems like, I don't know if it was Nikki that did this or if somebody else did it, but somebody's been trying to mess with Emmett. Somebody's been trying to get him to, I guess, own up to what he did to Ray. Now, there is a chance that he did it himself, because, I mean, the thought that Nikki could somehow sneak into his office and put up all of the stamps, and then also the fact that she could sneak into his house and put the fake mustache on him. Maybe Mr. Winch could, but I don't know. I find that highly doubtful. So I almost wonder if he's gone so insane that he actually did all of this to himself to get himself to confess. And we even see at the end, they try to get him to take the pills to fall asleep, and he doesn't. So I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see. We see at the end he goes into the precinct and he's like, I want to confess. So yeah, I mean, it's a very good setup for the final two episodes. Because the thing is, if Nikki is involved in this, that means she's going to want to take down Varga and his people, as well as Emmett, because she wants revenge for what happened to Ray. So, I don't know. I'm really excited to see where it's going, but a lot of very interesting stuff happening in these past 3 episodes. And some of it a little weird. Like I said, I'm probably going to look up more of it as it goes on. But yeah, The one thing that I still really like about this season that's just carried all the way through is just something about the way they write these characters. Sometimes it does sound weird, sometimes it does look weird, but it feels natural for the characters. And it feels natural for the way they're reacting and stuff. I don't know, it's just very well set up, very well done. Even some of the scenes, the shots are just so beautiful to watch. So, but yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think that's about it for this episode. So, that being said, what did you guys think of these last 3 episodes? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Fargo reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.